Now, X-Rock 105 presents The Rock Doctor. You've got questions, she's got answers.
And needles.
Had I known, I would have brought you a new one. That's exactly what it says, yes.
The information on this program is not to be used as a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment of any health condition or problem. Listeners should not rely on information provided for their own health problems. Any questions regarding your own health should be addressed to your own primary care physician or other professional healthcare provider. Now, Dr. Nicola of Purina Healthcare, your Rock Doctor.
Check.
She'll do it too.
I did that last week.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to dare her. I'm not going to tease her anymore. All right, it is the Rock Doctor on X-Rock 105. Good morning, Dr.
Good
Nicola.
morning.
All right, you got questions? She's got answers. Like we said, 970-385-1053 is the number you can call in. Or you can text your questions to 970-553-9001. Either way, we'll get them on, get them in here, and I got a cold or something.
You you sound stuffy.
Yeah, right after last week's show, all of a sudden.
Really? Is
Sure.
that when you got sick? Really?
Yeah, like I was talking a little bit about, you get that itchy feeling.
Yeah.
I hit the Zicam and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Ooh, no.
So you've had it for a full week.
I've had it for a week.
Oh man, yuck. What have you been doing to take care of it?
Blowing my nose.
That's good.
A
Get
lot.
the gunk out. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and what's cool, the colors. It's not been.
The rainbow of colors.
No, I've heard that the deeper the color, the worse the sinus infection is.
I could see that. Yeah, I mean, what the yellow or the green is the infection, right? And
Yeah.
so if it's really really dark or really really green or whatever, then yeah, you probably have a worse infection than if there's just a little yellow tinge.
Yeah,
to
this
it.
has been.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have some more snot talk. No, so it hasn't been bad. It's just been running a lot. So.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
What
Well,
am
do
I
you know
doing?
why your nose runs?
Um,
Most people don't get it. Most people just feel like it's an inconvenience, and then we buy decongestions and stuff to dry up the mucus. But what's happening is that when we've got a bacteria or a virus in our sinuses somewhere, in our lungs or whatever, then it irritates that mucous membrane, and then it secretes mucus, and then that mucus carries the bug out of your system.
So counterintuitively, we want to dry it up.
Right. Yeah.
And it prolongs it.
Yeah, almost all the meds on the market are anti-whatever, right? They're anti-cough, anti-mucus, anti-whatever. So it will allow us to have the symptoms go away and go to work. But really what we should do is just take the day off.
Let it run its course.
And get the gunk out. So when we stop the process of the body, be it the fever or the mucus or the cough, then we're not... Because a cough is another way that the body just gets the stuff out of your lungs.
But what it gets to the point where you're you can't even talk.
Yes, yeah. I mean, yeah, it gets definitely to an uncomfortable point. But again, other than your comfort, which of course is important, but if you can let it run and do stuff to support it running more, like time steams or hot and cold or a neti pot. Do you know what a neti pot is?
No.
Okay. Wow, here we go. So a neti pot.
Is that something you get at the dispensary?
It's not.
Oh.
It's a different kind of pot.
Oh, okay.
It's a little ceramic pot, and you stick it up one nostril with water.
Oh, hell no. Okay, you can stop. No. When I go swimming and I get a little water in my nose, it burns.
Yes, you're right. But this, okay,
No.
yes.
No.
But listen. Because it's basically a nasal wash, and so any of the pollen or the gunk that's in your nose, but it's different than getting water stuck up your nose from swimming, because that happens by accident, and you usually, inhale it, and that's not what we're doing with an neti pot. We're actually using gravity to just and you tilt your head, and the water just kind of goes in one side and out the other. So you're not supposed to be getting it up into your sinuses and that sort of stuff. But you can put a little tiny bit of essential oil in there. When you're putting essential oils up your nose, more is not better. And that will actually get the medicine touching where the infection is, and can be really helpful.
Okay, is she done talking about whatever? Because I didn't hear a word you just said.
You put your fingers in your ears. La, 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 la. Yeah.
Yeah, no, ooh, I mean, I don't have a problem just blowing my nose.
Yeah, that's fine. So then a better option for you would be something like a thyme steam. And what that is where you take, a lot of us have thyme in our spice cabinet that we don't actually...
I have the time. It's a little after 8.
Ha-ha.
Hey, good morning. Hey, we got the jokes for you.
So yeah, you could use the stuff in your spice cabinet, or you can get thyme essential oil, and again, just a few drops, 5, 6, 7, and then you put it in a ceramic bowl, and then you pour boiling hot water over it. And then what you do is just cover your head with a towel, and then put your face in the steam and breathe that in. And that's another way to get the medicine actually touching the tissues that are bothered. And that, more than anything, as much as anything, can really help clear out a persistent cough or a persistent kind of sinus gunkage.
Thank God, haven't had the cough part.
Yes.
A little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
nothing
Yeah.
serious. Just it's mostly up here, and it just.
Yeah.
The bummer is you got to sit and blow your nose every 5 minutes.
Right, yeah, absolutely. If you did a thyme steam, you'd get a lot of stuff out, and you'd have some relief for usually a couple hours.
I'll go buy some time.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Right after, I'll try it because
it's amazing. The time, and a lot of people will use eucalyptus, which can be great too. But the thyme is really specific for the respiratory tract. It's really my antimicrobial.
What about what is it, like Vicks and stuff like that?
Sure. So Vicks Vapor Rub, or any of those mentholated rubs, I would recommend. You can always get a similar product made with essential oils, a non-petroleum based, gel, or the gunky stuff. But those are great. Again, it's just kind of using those essential oils to open up the sinuses and help you breathe better.
Yeah, I mean it hasn't been bad. I mean I can hear it and I feel
Sure.
it right now. But so what's the difference between a cold and the flu?
Sure. Yeah. Severity is one of them. So a flu, you wouldn't be here talking to me. You would be at home with aches, fever, body pains, chills, it's just a lot more achy, is the biggest thing. And then the fatigue is pretty brutal, but they can have some of the similar symptoms of the stuffiness, the runny nose, the sneezing.
Well, I mean, because I think it was Thursday morning I kind of felt that way.
Okay.
But no fever.
No fever, yeah.
But just like I just want to go home and go to bed.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's your body's way of, what happens is when the immune system is triggered, there's actually an inflammatory response. And so that achiness in your joints is these certain cells in your immune system that are doing their job. And so it's actually a good sign of a strong immune system when your body can mount a response rather than kind of having that low grade sniffle that you can't quite clear for like 2 or 3 weeks. I'd rather to see somebody get good and sick for a day or two and then kind of pop out of it. So the fact that you got achy, you went home and you rested is it's your body's wisdom telling you this is what you need to do now.
Yeah. Hey, butthead, I need your attention here. You're going to go home and rest,
right.
All right?
And so then we push through, and then the voice of your body gets louder and louder, and the symptoms get more and more severe until we either finally acknowledge, okay, I really need to stop, or our body takes us down.
One thing that's always bothered me is, I get it, we all have, we have our jobs, we have things we need to do. I hate when people come to work sick.
Yes, agreed.
And for me,
and here you are.
Yeah, but no, the litmus test. I'm not feverish, and I'm not. So I'm assuming I'm not contagious. Am I wrong?
Well, that's the whole idea of contagion is pretty complicated and layered from my perspective. In that,
well, yeah, okay, that's great. We're all not doctors,
and that's why I'm here. Da, da, da. If it was just about germs and exposure to germs or bacteria or virus or whatever you've got, my guess is what you have is viral because it's not that bad. You're not spiking a fever. Your snot isn't yellow or greeny. That sort of stuff. But if it was just about you having the virus, then and me catching the virus and being exposed to it, then we would all be sick all the time. So it's
right.
Really about how much sugar, how much alcohol, how much sleep, how strong is my immune system, is my gut working well, because that's where most of our immune system is, and most people don't know that.
It's in your gut?
Yeah. So you know the tissues that your tonsils are made out of?
Yeah.
That lymph tissue?
Yeah.
There's something called GALT, and it's gut-associated lymph tissue. And what that means is that the entire intestinal tract is surrounded by the same tissue that makes up your tonsils.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, exactly. And so when we have poor digestion or inflammation in our digestion, or let's say food sensitivities, we are going to mount an inflammatory response and our immune system is going to be compromised. So that's why so many people, when they have a food allergy, say, will get non-digestive symptoms. So they're like, I've got this chronic sinus stuff, or I get this ache in my joints. But if we think about it, the sinus is actually the opening of your digestive tract, right? Your mouth is where it all begins.
Right.
And the back of your mouth opens into your sinuses.
Wow.
And so it's really just one tube that's surrounded by immune tissue.
I learned something today already. Wow,
Hey.
we're only 10 minutes into the show. Look at this.
8:10. All right.
Okay, so, but as I was saying, if I'm feeling feverish, I won't come to work. That's
Perfect.
kind of been my litmus test.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stuffy nose, yeah. I mean, I warned you when you came in.
Right.
Hey, I got a cold.
Absolutely.
Stay back, and you looked at me and said, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I care.
Not worried about it.
Right.
Well, that's just it. I mean, and so last week before Christmas, we had a lot of people through the office that had a pretty gnarly GI bug. You know, the diarrhea and vomiting combo. Super fun.
Okay. You ever done it from both ends at the same time?
Only when I when I was in labor.
Oh, well, okay. Well, I had that happen.
Which
one
was
time. It
complicated.
Like, I'm running to the bathroom. You're processing. Okay, do I sit
Yeah,
down? and-
which is more
Which do I
important.
do?
Yeah,
I have to
absolutely.
sit down and use a trash can.
Yeah, I gave birth at home, so luckily my bathtub was close enough to my toilet where I could,
Yeah.
take care of both at the one time. But anyway, that's more information than anybody needs really about my birth experience.
Hey, it's poop and puke time.
And
Wow. We're 10 minutes into the show. And we're covering everything.
I know, and I totally. Oh yeah. So anyway, germ theory. I totally forgot where we were going. Having flashbacks. But so there were people in and out of my office all week long that were either in the throes of that illness or called up and said, "Oh, I've got it today." And then my office manager went down with it. But nobody else. And then, well, I don't know. That's not true. I think our acupuncturist got sick. She said on Saturday night, so that I don't know what kind of sickness she got, but that might have been that one too.
Right.
And so why did some of us get that and others of us not get it?
Well, that's it. And you, as a doctor, you're going to see a dozen patients a day over the course of a flu outbreak or whatever.
Absolutely.
And yet, it's very rare to hear of a doctor getting sick.
Right, exactly. So
Why?
Why is it?
I want to know the reason why. That's your secret.
Exactly. Oh, you're pushing.
We have electricity, though.
I take pretty good care of myself. I really, when people are sick, I do become more aware of my sleep, of my prevention. So I might take a little extra herbs. I might get a little extra rest. I might just make a different choice around eating sugar because that is such an immune.
That frog in your throat.
I think it's just dry. It's so dry. Where's the snow?
I know.
Anyway, that's a totally different conversation. Right. And I do preventative stuff. So when people are coming in to get wellness shots because they start to feel like they're getting sick or they are sick, I get a wellness shot too. So again, this idea of staying on top of stuff rather than waiting until something happens and then trying to get out of it quick.
Instead of reacting, you're being
proacting.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what's in a wellness shot?
That's B5, B12, and a homeopathic that helps boost the immune system. I should have brought you one.
Well, I'm too late, man. I already got it. Wait, what did you shoot me up with last week?
Well, I'll tell you, I saw that was just B5 and B12 last week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But no homeopathic.
I didn't put a homeopathic in there. Yeah. But there was somebody
What's the matter, Steve? Too cheap to pay for the whole thing? Yeah, I'd only do...
Thank you, Steve.
Oh, I let him have it. He comes into the office and he's got this big old smile. Yeah, thanks.
But I'll tell you, there was somebody, and I saw her on Thursday. She was pretty sick. I saw her yesterday, and she was feeling better, but I gave her a shot, and about half an hour later, she said, I don't know if this is placebo, what's going on, but I feel a lot better. And I said, yeah, it can really work that fast, which is pretty cool.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, so it can help on the tail end of recovery, too. You don't have to it isn't just for prevention.
Is there a reason that the cold and flu and things like that tend to run their course in like a week to 10 days? I mean, that seems to be the magic.
It's kind of it, right? Yeah, and I think for some people, like when I get a tickle or I start to feel sick, I take the entire day and I'm just like, I get on it. And so usually when I wake up the next day, it's gone. And so I think it's, again, how we're taking care of our body. But again, most of us aren't going to take a week or 10 days off of work because we have, a mild to moderate cold. And so it's just a question of how well are you able to take care of this body?
What determines whether a cold is mild, moderate, severe?
I think it's so multifactorial, you know.
Because I mean, I know guys, we when the cold and flu symptoms hit us, they hit us harder than it does for women.
I'm gonna go with no on that.
Well, that's not what I read. The study I read this week says you're wrong, doctor.
Really? I think there's more complaining. I think that happens.
Because it affects us different. Our physiology
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Oh,
I found this on the internet. Everything's on the
Really?
internet. It's true.
is that true?
Yeah.
I have not seen that.
There was a new study that it came out just in this last week that said that.
Oh, interesting.
Of course, it's the internet.
Right. Well, I mean, I wonder. I think that there's more to how we get sick than just our immune system or just our physiology. I think there's a big component where, you know, there's a big mind-body component where I think a lot of men don't let themselves rest well anymore. There's like I have to take care of this, I have to take care of that, and I couldn't possibly stop, and I couldn't possibly take care of myself.
Planet, it's not just a one-time thing. It has to happen every day.
Yeah, and so I wonder if, the symptoms hit a little harder so that because you need a harder knock over the head to take a minute.
Ouch. Ouch.
Funny because it's true.
970-385-1053. If you've got questions for Dr. Nicola at Pure Vita Healthcare, you can call in right now. Or you can text your questions to 970-553-9001. We got some texts coming in here, and we'll ask you those next.
Fantastic,
It's
thanks.
the Rock Doctor on X-Rock 105.
Hey, Steve.
Getting in some turns now that ski season is almost here. Worried about where you're going to stay after
What?
an epic day on the slopes? No problem.
Yeah.
Lodge is here to accommodate. Locally owned and operated. They offer
Oh, you know what else can be helpful is getting an adjustment, getting a chiropractic adjustment. Because if these are your vertebrae, right, between the ends of the vertebrae, your arteries and your nerves come out. And so when we have a subluxation, then we don't get good blood flow and good nerve conduction. And so a lot of times I could give you a neck adjustment.
That's what I have Sean do here.
Oh, yeah?
Just because you live outside the city
He picks me up, and I can feel my back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, really? Uh-huh. Oh, uh-huh. Yeah, I took it just once when I came in to talk to you guys first time. Oh, okay. Awesome.
Always text nothing about having a cold.
Is that all from today?
Yeah.
Old Man Winter is here.
That's all right.
The experts
We don't have to keep on talking about colds.
Okay.
I would like to touch a little bit too on just like how hard this week has been for so many people I know.
Okay.
Because and just kind of touch on that mental health piece again too, because it's just a hard time of year.
I'll lead with that.
Okay.
So, I mean, does the holidays have anything to do with stress, and does that affect?
Yeah. That sounds great.
Colorado, Utah, Arizona. Intermountain Wall Systems is your premier insulation, drywall, metal framing, and acoustic ceiling contractor. Call 970-821-6403 today to set up your free inspection, and let's make Durango warm again.
X-Rock 105, the Rock Doctor. Dr. Nicola at Pure Vita Healthcare is here in the studio, taking your calls, answering your texts about just about anything that has to do with...
Almost anything.
Yeah. I don't think we've reached anything yet that's been taboo, so... 970-553-9001 if you've got a text. 970-385-1053 if you want to call in and ask her a question. Dr. Love, Dr. Nicola. During the breakout, we were chatting, and I think I already know the answers, but I'm going to ask you anyway. With holidays, there tends to be a lot of stress.
Yes, a lot of stress.
And it always seems like that next flu or cold outbreak or whatever happens right around the holidays.
Either right after Christmas, like the week after, or right in January, right where everybody's kind of like we've kind of pinnacled in our stress process, and now we're
decompressing,
and now we are crashing. Yeah.
So my question is: does that have an impact? Is that why we get sick?
Yeah, absolutely. So the stress hormone cortisol is actually known to suppress the immune system. So if you ever know anybody who's been on, let's say, corticosteroids, right, or steroids for a long time, we know that it suppresses the immune system, right? And so cortisol, which is our physiological stress hormone, is our physiological anti-inflammatory, also suppresses the immune system. So when we get stressed, be it physically because we're out in the cold or have haven't slept enough, or haven't been eating as well as we could, or emotionally, because let's face it, the holidays for a lot of us are a hard time of year.
Sure.
Even and especially in the face of it's supposed to look different than it generally does. It's supposed to be happy and jolly and family and this and that, and for some people it really is, but for most people, especially folks I've been talking with this week, be it friends or colleagues or whatever, it's been a hard week, and myself included.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff, just old stuff that came up. Yeah, and it can be a reminder or an anniversary. I separated from my husband over the holidays many years ago, and I know a couple of other people that are going through separations and divorce. I don't know what it is about the holidays. Maybe it's just the new year, or kind of make it through the holidays and then people split up, or maybe remember that, at home when you were growing up, the holidays were mixed, maybe dad drank too much or whatever, but there's a lot of junk that can come up around the holidays, and not a lot of room to express it because it's not quote unquote what you're supposed to be feeling during this time of year.
We're all supposed to be happy and ho ho
Right.
ho,
Mm-hmm.
the season of giving.
Yeah. People are freaking out, spending too much money, buying too many presents, just kind of overextending. And then there's a letdown after Christmas happens, and maybe it wasn't everything you wanted, or maybe now it's over, and there's just a little bit of a letdown.
Okay, and stress will have that impact on your health,
Absolutely.
as you brought up. All right, I'm going to ask the question. I don't know if is there an easy answer. How do you not let that happen? I mean,
Yeah. Well, I don't think stress isn't. I don't think there's any way to avoid getting stressed, but it's how we relate to stress. And so again, a lot of times, especially like for me this week, I have a pretty regular exercise routine that I do, and it blew out the window because I was on vacation, my son's on vacation. We let our routines go, and by the time Thursday rolled around, I was like, I need to move my body. I am going crazy. And I went for a 3-hour hike. I went up to Goody's Rest, and it was beautiful and amazing and exactly what I needed. And I was tired after, but I got a sweat going, and I moved my body, and my mood, I could definitely feel the shift, even before I was finished with the hike, and then went to my regular yoga class yesterday morning. Again, just moving that energy. So even if it's a walk around your block or whatever, and we don't have the excuse of not being able to get out right now because the weather. I mean, the weather's off the hook beautiful.
Mid-50s
Yeah.
today? I mean, come on.
So there's no reason that you can't get out, take a little walk, enjoy, wherever you live, the river trail, whatever.
But not everybody's into hiking.
No, that's fine.
For example, when I was younger, I lived in Southern California, and if I was having one of those days, I had this little spot on the ocean that I used to love to drive down to,
Yeah.
and just sit on this rock.
Absolutely.
Nobody else went there because there was very little sand. There was not really, it wasn't a beach. It was just a nice, quiet spot, and I would just sit there and...
Yep, exactly. Yep, so taking some space for yourself. I don't know if a lot of people have family in town or they're staying with family, and it's kind of the quarters get very close. And so we feel like, oh, well, this person's only in town for 3 days. I can't take an hour to go and find my quiet spot,
Right.
wherever that may be. And that might be out in your workshop or the shed, or just taking a drive by yourself. But we kind of feel obligated to not take care of ourselves, and so we stay in that stress cycle when really what we need is just a quiet moment, or to move our bodies, or
15
go to bed
minutes isn't
early.
going to kill you.
Absolutely.
Or anybody else, they'll understand.
And it'll probably be better for it, because when you come back, you're going to be more present and more excited to engage with whatever's going on.
And the fact that they left the toilet seat up and not...
Right. You ate all your food and didn't make the bed, and yeah, exactly. Left your pile of laundry. Yeah, all that sort of stuff becomes less important because you were taking care of yourself consistently this whole time. And I think that's part of what rocks people's world around the holidays, is that our routines just get absolutely tossed out the window. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Text here from Mandy at 970-553-9001. She says, talk about the importance of oral hygiene and good health.
Oh, okay. Great. Well,
Sure.
I mean, I think it's really important to take good care of your teeth. And part of that is that there is a micro world of bacteria that lives in your mouth. And so there's a balance between good and bad bacteria in your mouth, just like there is in your gut, just like there is on your skin. And so taking really, really good care of it and getting out like any food particles with flossing and that sort of stuff so that the quote unquote bad bacteria don't have a haven is really important. Something else to think about too is grinding teeth. I don't think we talk about that very much when we talk about oral health and oral hygiene, but that can have a really big impact on your gums receding and things like that. So yeah, it's a really integral part of what we do every day, and I think it gets overlooked as part of our overall health picture.
I think Mandy's probably works for a dentist.
But it's true. I'm glad that we bring it up because I think it does get overlooked because it's something that we all assume that we do and do well.
Oh, I guarantee you we don't do it well. Man, I brush and floss. I still go to the dentist and says, well, you're not doing a very good job. Floss. That's why I come to see you. Silence.
Fix it.
If I didn't need you,
right.
You're ones angering me. You're stressing me. My other doctor says you're not supposed to do that.
Right. That's exactly right. Well, and how many of us go to the dentist twice a year like we're supposed to? Oh, raising one hand. All right.
Raising my hand.
Yeah, excellent. That's great. I mean, I think it's a really, really good practice to get into.
I have put several of my dentist kids over the years through college.
Well, but why is it that we have to wait until things get so bad that now you go twice a year?
I've gone for as long as I can remember.
Oh, really?
I don't know what two species got together to create me, but they had bad DNA.
Bad oral DNA.
Yeah. I mean, I had a dentist. He knew I was flossing and brushing. He goes, "Man, you just got a bad
hand.
Bad hand." Mm-hmm. I mean, half my teeth are crowns and everything.
Okay, yeah.
Those are all crowns. But I guess good that there's good bone structure that they can drill those anchors into. Yeah, dentists.
Yes.
My buddies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's important, but
that would make sense too. I mean, you hear brush after every meal,
right?
Or at least do a good rinse.
Absolutely.
It's probably not practical to go to work and try and brush your teeth, but
I know some people that do. They just have a little toothbrush and they go to the bathroom and they just brush. I mean, I don't do that. I will admit.
I wouldn't put rotten food in my mouth.
But we let it sit there all day.
We'll eat breakfast in the morning, and those little food particles sit and rot in your mouth. Mm-hmm. That 98-degree mouth with the 98% humidity.
Yeah, I mean it's a perfect environment, right, for bacteria and stuff like that. So yeah, taking good care of your teeth is important.
Let's see here on our text line at 970-553-9001. Can you wash your hands too much?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you want a longer answer than that?
Well, no. I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can get into over hand washing, and just on the skin level, it can really dry out your hands and get people really, really, really chapped. And we're supposed to actually ingest a decent amount of other bacteria through our hands. I mean, we're designed for that. That's why our tonsils are placed where they are, right? It's so that as soon as we swallow something, that's our first line of defense.
Tonsils go, hey!
Yeah, they're kind of like your bouncers.
Your bacteria, you're not good. You're not welcome here. Well, I remember as a kid, I used to get tonsillitis all the time, and it would go back and forth between leave them in, take them out, leave them in, take them out.
Yeah,
I still have mine.
You did leave them in. Okay, yeah. And I mean, I've definitely heard of some kiddos that it's just night and day when they get their tonsils taken out. But my question is always, why are we getting recurrent tonsillitis? Why are we constantly getting an infection there? What's going on? Because it's really the first line of the immune system. So removing the tonsils doesn't really cure the underlying issue. It's not that your tonsils are simply overreactive just because. Our body isn't wired like that.
I think what I was 10 years old, so I don't really remember a lot, but I think I was breathing through my mouth.
Uh-huh.
So instead of, you're always doing that. Now, that's why my tonsils were getting infected. I mean, I'm trying. That was a long time ago, but I seem to remember that, and my mom making a conscious effort to, honey, breathe through your nose.
Yeah. But I wonder if you weren't breathing through your nose because it was kind of congested, because maybe there was sinus inflammation in your nose that was causing you to breathe through your mouth.
Don't know.
And so so I would say that's a little, I don't know, I'm not sure if breathing through your mouth is going to cause you to get more throat infections.
And as I got older, it just And got my teen years, it just seemed to go away.
Yeah, and maybe, some people have real small sinus passages, and so if there's any inflammation, it gets real hard to breathe.
Could be.
Yeah, so it's
I
possible.
was a short, fat kid, so I don't know.
So it's possible that you had, that you had shorter tubes, shorter, I don't know, did you get a bunch of ear infections as a kiddo too?
No,
Okay.
not that I remember. I mean,
Okay.
Occasionally.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
Again, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I was back in the one-room schoolhouse out there on the prairie
Back in the day.
What? Go ahead, you can say it. I'm old. I get it. That's fine. So washing your hands, you can wash them too much.
I think you can wash them too much. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, to me, that would be like,
Yeah.
You brought up that it's dry here this morning.
Right.
You wash your hands and you think you're getting them moist, but you're actually not.
No, yeah. So we have natural oils, right, in our skin, and so the more we use soap and water, soap is very drying, right? So,
just putting water on your hands
yeah,
is drying.
And water
it
is drying
evaporates
too.
And it continues, just because the water you put on is gone, it continues to the process.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So, or using that hand sanitizer, that can be really drying too, because it's alcohol based, and rubbing alcohol is really drying. It's part of the reason why we use it, and why we use it. Like if we're clearing an area before we're giving a shot, it dries really fast, right? It evaporates quickly. So, and there's certain people like healthcare providers that are required to wash hands between patients, and that makes sense to me. But a lot of times people are just washing their hands because there's an underlying anxiety there. There's and so there's an underlying piece of why we feel like we need to wash our hands so often. So, kind of looking at that.
So, how often should you? I mean, when do you wash your hands? How do you know when too much is too much or not enough? I mean, is there a one-size-fits-all answer to that?
There definitely isn't, but I think general rules of thumb is obviously after you use any bathroom, and then ideally before meals.
Okay, so bathroom? All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, and maybe if you've been exposed to somebody who's sick, then, or if you're going to go visit somebody who's immunocompromised, washing your hands before you meet with them is.
All right, let's say good morning to Willie. Hey, Willie, you're on with the Rock Doctor on X-Rock 105.
Good morning.
Good morning, Willie.
Good morning, Dr. Nicola. I was wondering, with the hands and the washing and all that, I understand that, but I was wondering if what I believe, because it works for me, is, of course, I wash my hands, but my goal is not to touch my face with my hands unless I'm washing my face, and somehow I don't get sick.
So you try not to wash, do you try not to touch your face?
Yeah, with my hands.
With your hands? Ever?
Well, what do you do if you got an itch? How do you handle, Willie? How do you handle an itch? What do you use, like the wall or something?
The inner part of my arm with my clean shirt.
Oh, so kind of.
Oh,
all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But is that work? Is it true? I heard that the face was the porthole kind of to germs and virus.
I mean, I think the mouth and the nose are the two primary ways that we get exposed to germs and viruses and bacteria and stuff like that. So, and it makes sense to me that you're most likely to pick up those little bugs from your hands. And so, yeah, it makes sense to me that touching your face or using your hands to eat or things like that are going to expose you to more bugs.
Why do they tell you not to rub your eyes? With your fingers. I've heard there's no. Your nose and mouth have the things that can kill the bacteria, but your eyes don't. Is that?
That makes. I mean, sure. Yeah, there's no immune.
That
function.
teach the doctor something?
I know. I'm like thinking that through. Yeah, there's no inherent immune function in the eyes that I can think of. So I guess that's a way that you could get bacteria, because you're going to be bypassing the tonsils, right? And then in your nose, you have a bunch of little hairs, cilia,
right.
that can help catch any of those bugs before they get too far into your system. So yeah, I mean, I could see that touching your face less could mean that you have less exposure to germs. That makes sense to me.
Okay, sounds good. Willie, appreciate your call. 970-385-1053 is our number if you want to call in and talk to Dr. Nicola. Or you can text us at 970-553-9001. It is the Rock Doctor on X-Rock 105.
Addiction happens.
Hi, Kai.
Coping with
Hi,
tough
Laura.
events, injuries, or even chemical imbalance.
How you doing? Good?
Southern Rockies Addiction Treatment Service.
Why are you waving to people?
There's people that I can see that they're watching.
There's never judgment, and your information
So I'm just saying
is
hi.
always confidential. confidential. If you or someone you care about is
You guys should call in with questions. I need some
narcotics,
water,
or
sweet.
prescription opiates, call Southern Rockies Addiction Treatment Services. When you're ready to reach out, we will always reach back. Call 970-828-3030.
No, I heard that. You know, like if you're you're not supposed to do that because that's a great way to get it.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, now you're gonna get it.
Yes! I wanted to.
Yeah.
What about if they itch? Do you just use your hand?
That's a good idea. If you've got an itchy nose, just use your
Or
hoodie.
if you have itchy eyes, just use your hoodie.
Yeah, sure. That's a good idea.
Have you always wondered why you have
Yeah.
gas?
Careful.
Rock Doctor is in. Have you been
Oh, I
wondering
had
why
some
your
gas
girlfriend
this
never
week.
removed?
Really?
Doctor is in. Tune in
That's
every
interesting.
Saturday morning from 8 to 9 for the Rock
I'm sure it
Doctor.
was just a coincidence, but it's
Huh? Did
Dang.
Did you? Did you eat different food at the holiday?
like, well, I would have got some better food.
Uh-huh.
So probably.
Natural Health Care,
Huh.
the Durango Rock Doctor, and she'll be answering all your questions. Nothing is too crazy, nothing is off limits. No insurance necessary. The Durango Rock Doctor, Saturday mornings from 8 to 9.
Thank you.
You know you got questions, and we've got answers right here on X-Rock 105.
Ah, yes, the Rock Doctor. Dr. Nicola from Pure Vita Healthcare in the house with your questions. We got answers to it. Watch this. How healthy was that?
You feel good, huh?
Here, Jackson. 970-385-1053 is our number. You can also text us at 970-553-9001. All right, so it's cold and flu season and all that good stuff, and yeah, we're dealing with it.
We're dealing with it. Yeah, we're kind of in it. So,
Yeah, all right, let me get this next text here. This is from Linda. What's the best way to... What? Oh.
are you supposed to read these before you read them out loud?
No, autocorrect is not... Before you hit send on these texts...
Make sure it's what you mean to say.
Yeah, because I don't think the word that came out, it wouldn't make sense. What is the best way to remove earwax, and is it preventable?
Aha. Great. So,
Yummy.
yes.
We're getting all the
the body fluid questions. So the best way to get rid of earwax is simply using Q-tips. You know, it's really...
Now, see, I heard you're not supposed to use those because you end up pushing it in.
Well, don't push it in that far. I mean, you're not supposed to be like digging into the eardrum, but it can certainly get it out of the kind of opening of the ear canal, right? So, you can use it in, but you really shouldn't. You know how they have the cotton bit and then there's a stick bit? You really shouldn't go beyond the cotton bit into your ear. Some people kind of get really in there. So that's a good way of getting rid of them. If you feel like you've got earwax that is stuck or like kind of chronic, that sort of stuff, go into your doc, or like Ricky, our acupuncturist, can do this. She actually really likes doing this, where you get the wash and you kind of get your ear washed out. But if you've got clogged ears and there's some hard wax that's in there, it feels pretty great to get that out. But the best way to prevent it is increasing essential fatty acids. So increasing your good fats. So in your diet, taking fish oil, that sort of stuff. But a lot of people have either too much earwax or earwax that kind of gets hard and stuck because they don't have enough good fats in their diet.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow, see, I've learned something today.
No.
Now, see, my question was going to be, like, your ears are sort of connected to your sinuses, aren't they?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
All right, so I mean, if you have a cold,
yeah,
and you got
you can get that popping in the ears and that pressure in the
nasal butter
ears.
coming out, you got the phlegm coming up. I mean, it would just seem to me that earwax, but it doesn't work that way.
No, it shouldn't. No, you'll feel like that sinus pressure or
right.
sinus pain, or sorry, not sinus, but ear pain or pressure, or kind of that like feeling like you got to pop your ears quite a bit, and that's because that the eustachian tube, the ear tube, opens into the very back of your throat, and so that's part of that. And so when we have a swelling in our sinuses from irritation or infection, then our ear tubes, our eustachian tubes, they can get swollen and pressured as well.
Aha.
Yeah.
So your ears aren't going to run like your nose.
Your ears aren't going to run like your nose.
But if your nose is stuffy, you can't impact your ears.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
I learned 2 things today. I learned 3.
8:39.
Yeah,
It's pretty
8:39,
great. 20 minutes to go.
I've learned 3 things here. Let's see here. Off our text line at 970-553-9001, Sam wants to know if you can be addicted to marijuana.
Yes, yes, I think that you can. There isn't very much research that shows there's a physiological addiction like alcohol or benzos or heroin or cocaine or whatever. But I do think there can be a strong psychological dependence that makes it really, really hard for people to get off of marijuana because most folks, I would say most folks start using it recreationally, but then realize that, oh, wow, this helps me sleep, or this helps my anxiety go away, or this helps me not think about whatever, or this chills my anger out is a huge one that I hear.
Right.
Huge one.
Keeps me calm.
Keeps me calm, yeah. Well, it's not keeping you calm because it's resolving the underlying issues that are making you angry or irritable in the first place. It's just band-aiding that symptom, right? But a lot of times people get afraid of how they really feel, and so then we become dependent on whatever substance, and cannabis
so
is just
it's
as
a
likely.
psychological addiction.
Absolutely, yeah. But I haven't seen a ton of research showing, I don't know anybody who goes to, rehab for marijuana addiction to help them quit,
Well, that's interesting. Well, I mean,
per se.
And as it continues, here in Colorado, obviously legal recreationally,
right. And as of Monday, California.
Right. It's going across the country.
Right.
I wonder if we'll see that, and should it be addressed as an addiction that might need treatment?
Absolutely, I think so. But I think with any addiction, we focus on the physiological addiction, but there's just a lot of emotional and psychological components to addiction too.
Well, isn't that how an addiction starts? It starts psychologically. Now, with opiates and stuff like that, it does become, I don't know what the other word is, I'm not a doctor.
There's a physiological.
Okay, yeah.
Psychological.
You can actually, your body will develop a dependency on it.
Yeah.
But
alcohol too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? Alcohol?
Oh, yeah. Alcohol. Yeah, alcohol.
Your body depends on alcohol.
Yeah, so alcohol is one of the only drugs that you need to be medically detoxed from because your body is, you can actually have some pretty severe body or physiology consequences from just quitting alcohol if you've gotten to a certain point with it.
Now, I want to, right now, you've said that. Don't let that be an excuse to not get help if you need it.
No, but get help. But that's part of the reason that, so many alcohol addiction places have a 30-day inpatient is so there can be some medical monitoring. Because
I don't know that this happens. I've never been arrested for being drunk. Yes, but I've heard the drunk tank. So you take somebody that you've picked up and throw them in a drunk tank?
Sure, yeah. Well, and what I think...
That just seems counterintuitive to me. You could die in there?
Well, I don't think it's not that quick. So if you pick somebody up and they're actively drunk, it's going to take them at least a few hours to get sober. And what I'm talking about is when you're sober and you don't have any alcohol in your system and you haven't for a number of hours or days. And that's when we can get, you've heard of the DTs?
Yeah.
Deliriums tremens.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like seizure-like stuff happening. And so it's not so much that, in the drunk tank, somebody's going to dry out and, their blood alcohol, it's going to take them a while for their blood alcohol content to get to zero, and then for that zero to stay at zero for, like I said, a number of hours or days, and then we start running into problems.
So now back to Sam's question. So an addiction to marijuana, that could be real. Absolutely, yeah. And when we talk about psychological addictions, how do you fix that? Is there an easy fix or?
There's what I always say is simple but not easy,
okay.
Right? Because getting rid of any addiction, and be it to a drug or alcohol or to sugar or to work, yeah, absolutely. We kind of, when we start doing something in an addicted sort of way, we're doing it at the detriment to ourselves, right? And we can't really imagine what it's going to be like without that. And so, we've kind of normalized the coffee addiction. But, if you've ever gone camping with somebody who's got a full-on coffee addiction, the night before you're going to sleep, doesn't matter how much you've been drinking around the campfire, they're oriented towards, okay, where's the coffee for the morning? Am I all set up? Is it in the press? Is it ready to go? And we joke about that sort of stuff, but that's an addiction, right? Where we're so focused on making sure that we have what we need for the next day or the next night or next hour, that we're not present to what's happening.
Well, for me, we've not hidden the fact that I like to drink sodas.
Yeah.
And, I've since doing the show with you and since meeting you, I've made a conscious effort to significantly cut back. And that first couple of days was kind of tough. I mean, I thought, well, I don't need these things, and so
I'm not addicted.
I started the first day, and about 4 hours into the day, I was getting this headache, and it's like, no, that's caffeine withdrawal.
Yep, exactly.
So your suggestion, you said, okay, well, don't just quit cold turkey, cut back.
Right, absolutely.
And now I'm at the point where I drink maybe 1 to 2 diet sodas a day.
From how many did you start?
As many as much as a 6-pack.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Awesome. That's a great direction to move in, right?
Yeah.
But also it increases your awareness. So I think part of it is the mindlessness that happens when we have something in our world, let's say like a diet soda, and we have it all the time whenever we want it. And so it's not so much like, oh, I really, really want this diet soda now. It's like, oh, I'm just going to open another one and I'm going to drink it down and not pay any attention to it. And then, oh, I really want the taste of that now. And so we kind of just keep going for it, as opposed to now you're more aware and you can say, do I really want a soda or am I just thirsty? I'll grab a glass of water.
Right. And what's really funny is we don't tend to associate wintertime with being thirsty.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I get more thirsty in the winter because it's so much drier.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So water, agua. And I have to replenish what's coming out of the sinus cavity.
Yeah, that's true, though. It's really, really true.
Oh, I know. I don't know what my body does to turn that water into 40 weight, but it works.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Yeah, we're starting a sugar-free January on January 8th, but whatever. Yeah, not this Monday, but next Monday. And this is the 6th year that I've done this sugar-free challenge. And I do it too. And so I kind of lead a class, and this year it'll be web-based, so people from all over can join us if they want. But I'll tell you, yesterday I've been having more sugar than I normally have because it's been the holidays and whatever, and I don't tend to worry about that sort of stuff. But yesterday, as I was like rooting around for like more chocolate, I was like, this is really not where I want to be. And this is like year 6 of me going through 30 days with no refined sugar and coming out feeling great. My mood is more stable. I'm not irritable. Hardly ever.
I can't imagine you being irritable.
Oh, thank you. That it very rarely happens. But I tend to get a little energy drop in the afternoon, and I don't have that when I'm off of sugar. And so every February when I'm letting this go, I'm like, I feel so great. I'm just going to keep this going. And I don't know why I don't just do this all the time, and I just feel so much better. And lo and behold, something happens, and I slowly get back on the sugar thing, such that by the time December rolls around, I'm like, I got to run that sugar-free challenge again, as much for me as for you. Because guess what? I'm giving you a free entry to it. So you're going to get to do our sugar-free challenge.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll pass.
But there's a bunch of different ways you can do it. So there's 3 different levels.
Okay, so there's I say I'm going to do it and smile and go along with it. That's level 1.
Yeah. No, level 1 would be just getting rid of really refined sugar. So not worrying too much about, what's added in things and what's going on. But, just the cookies, the cakes, the candies, the syrup in the latte, the whatever. So that's kind of level 1. It's just kind of, frank, sweet stuff, getting rid of that. Okay. And if you want some sweet stuff, then we can teach you how to use stuff like xylitol or erythritol or stevia or kind of sugar substitutes that won't be as impactful. Level 2 is just kind of getting rid of the sweet stuff out of the diet. So not using sugar substitutes or honeys or that sort of stuff, and really limiting fruit and that sort of stuff. And then level 3 would be absolutely no added sugar. I've only done this the very first year that I ran this challenge, and it was really, really hard because almost everything has sugar added to it. So I wasn't eating ketchup for a month because it has sugar added to it, and I was having to make my own salad dressings because they almost all have sugar added to them. And that was really difficult, but it was a huge eye-opener for me around how much added sugar I'm actually consuming, even when I'm not eating something quote unquote sweet.
Yeah,
right?
I'm sitting here trying to process what you're saying. That just seems Because I'll bet that's something we don't take into account.
Yeah, and for some people, like something like corn can mimic how sugar feels in the body. Or for some people, grains and flour can kind of have that sugar impact too. And so everybody gets to choose what works for them. To just play around, and you're going to be supported, and we'll have weekly webinars and an online Facebook group to support and recipes, and
Nice.
let's just check it out together.
I'll start with level 0.5.
Okay, all right.
Half level.
We'll talk about what that means.
More with Dr. Nicola of Pure Vita Healthcare coming up here on The Rock Doctor on X-Rock 105.
It's about finally getting in some turns now that ski season is almost here. Worried about where you're going to stay after the day on the slope? No problem.
I should. I won't argue that,
Yeah,
but I
you
don't.
wanna do it?
I don't want to.
I think you're really good at it.
Because that's no booze, too. That's no beer. That's,
Not necessarily. You can choose where you want to do
I
that.
mean, not that I'm an alcoholic. I don't.
Yeah.
But I do. She made me an IPA fridge. You should see it.
An IPA fridge?
A real fridge full of IPA that she handpicked.
Oh, that's
It's
awesome.
amazing. It's like you don't know what you're gonna get. Like it's a beautiful rainbow of IPAs.
That's awesome.
I thought so. So.
But they'll be there
I mean, it's
when you're
probably
done.
3 nights a week that I'll probably have 2 beers. You know,
Yeah,
one
that's
when I
fine.
get home and one with dinner.
But then what worries you about letting beers go for a month?
Nothing. Somehow I
Having to
find
deal with her sober.
my sweet sugar. Like I still. I like gelato.
Uh-huh.
I really do. I've kind of, I won't say I've cut back, but I mean, I have one a day. But I eat really healthy all day long, so it's like.
Steve
Yeah.
just texted, "Good show, snot man."
And I have somehow in my head that if I don't eat sugar, that
Here we go.
I'll blow away.
They're gonna. Oh, you want? Yeah. Well, we can talk about that. We can figure out how to keep you gaining weight.
It is our
We can talk
final
about that
segment with Dr. Nicola, the Rock Doctor of Pure Vita Healthcare here on X-Rock 105. If you got a question, get it in now, 970-385-1053, or you can text us at 970-553-9001. Dr. Feelgood.
And nobody's thinking that after I bring up the stopping sugar for a month.
Right?
It's like, Dr. Feel bad.
We got a text here from Steve. Sounds good, snot man.
Thanks.
Making fun of my cold here this morning. Another one here from Danny. What causes toenail fungus? And how can it be treated? I've tried a couple of different over-the-counter OTC products, and they didn't work.
Yeah. So, like any kind of fungus that we get,
That just sounds weird. What do you got, like moss growing on your toes? Or?
yeah, there's nail fungus. There's a fungus that it's essentially a yeast generally, right? That starts happening, and so a lot of times it's because we actually have what they call candida, which is a type of yeast, and there's just a yeast overgrowth in the body. And if you've tried over-the-counter treatments and they either got a little bit better and then it came back, or it wasn't doing anything, my suspicion would be we need to hit this internally and externally. So in the natural world, one of the best things to use is oil of oregano. And so you can apply oil of oregano topically, on the toe, but sometimes if it's under the toe, it can be hard to get the medicine in.
Yeah, because those toenails are hard. I mean, how?
Yeah, so you can use a solvent called DMSO, so DMSO, and what you do is you mix the oil of oregano in a carrier oil, so you don't want to use it straight, you want to dilute it a wee bit, and then you mix it with a DMSO, and then you put that on a very, very clean toenail, because the DMSO will draw in whatever is on there. So you want to make sure that you're doing this pretty clean, and then put like a gauze around it or something like that just to keep it clean. I do that twice a day, and then you can get oil of oregano capsules either from us at Pura Vida or from any health food store, and I would take some of those too, and then look at gut function, like what else is going on, like how the bowel movements, how's the gas. Gas is a real big symptom of a bacterial overgrowth or yeast overgrowth. Or bloating is a big part of yeast as well. So a bunch of questions
grab
there.
Some flour and eggs and make bread.
Yeah, it's the same principle. And what's the other thing that you put in with bread? So when you do the yeast and the hot water, we usually put in a tablespoon of sugar.
Okay.
Right?
And here you are trying to tell us to cut out sugar
But
in January.
because the sugar feeds the yeast.
Oh, okay.
Right. So that's part of why we cut out the sugar. So if we suspect that we've got a candida or a yeasty kind of overgrowth, and that could be skin rashes, that could be chronic vaginal yeast infections, toe fungus, gas and bloating, brain fog, like there's a lot of symptoms that can come along with this, which is why it's fun to do something like a 30-day challenge where it's like, let's check out all these things that feel better that I didn't even realize were bothering me because I live with them day to day. So it's nice to step away from our normal routine and get a different baseline and be like, oh, wow, I didn't even really notice that my elbow was bothering me until it stopped bothering me.
You bring up a good point, is we tend not to go to the doctor
right
until something feels horribly
wrong. Horribly wrong. Not just like, oh, it's a question mark, but
and that's fine. How do you say to somebody, you may not feel like crap today, but if you don't stop doing A, B, and C, you're going to feel worse than crap tomorrow?
Well, I mean,
or do you do that? I mean, walk me through that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess I don't necessarily use those words.
Well, no, you're a doctor. I'm not.
But the question
you're a professional. I'm not.
The question that I ask is, how well do you want to feel? Do you want to have?
If you think, well, that's my point. Is what if I think overall, I think I feel pretty good.
Okay.
For my age, I mean, I know there's some things that I could feel better on.
Right, so that's my question is why wouldn't you address those things? Why wouldn't, if you're feeling, let's say you're feeling 80% good, does that feel fair?
I would even go as high as 90.
90% good.
Yeah.
What gets in the way of you feeling 110% good?
Well, because 100 is the most you can have.
That's my point, is that I think because we're so used to not feeling vital that we sell ourselves short. And so if you're feeling 90 and I tell you you can feel 110, you're like, no. I can hardly even feel better than how I'm feeling now because my baseline is, just a little bit higher than it's ever been. But what if I'm telling you that you could feel even better than you felt as an adult, let's say?
Okay.
And like, why wouldn't you want that? Who doesn't want that?
Well, I think we all do, but I think we're all also realists. I mean.
But what does that mean? It's absolutely.
You can never feel perfect.
I think you can feel pretty damn good compared to like just pretty good. I feel like you can actually feel like, wow, my sleep is awesome and I have plenty of energy to do whatever I want to do in the day. And I don't get sick unless I know X, Y, and Z happened and it made me susceptible. Like that's kind of where I'm at this point is if I get a cold, I can look back and pinpoint exactly what happened, and it's generally for me when my sleep has been disturbed for whatever reason.
And see, it's funny you bring that up. I can pinpoint the moment I got the cold. When I got my Christmas present last week from you.
You think you got your cold from getting a bee shot?
That has to be it.
That has to be it.
In the Jamie Osborne warped world of wonders.
Emphasis on the warped.
And Jamie Osborne warped. Yeah. No,
well, and it's possible though that you were maybe feeling a little bit run down, and we actually boosted your immune system to actually mount a response.
And
so
kicked it in.
So it's possible. I don't see that very often, but it's definitely possible.
I'm just giving you a hard time. I have absolutely zero evidence whatsoever to suggest that getting that B vitamin shot from you had anything to do with it.
For most people that I work with, it actually is helpful. But you could be an outlier. It wouldn't surprise me.
Oh, ouch! Oh, there she goes. I was kind of hoping she'd say, hey, I want to see that butt again. Come over here. I'm going to give you a shot, big boy.
Because that's how I ask people to drop their pants to get a shot.
You didn't even have to ask me. I volunteered. I just come running right over there.
I was
She's
there.
like, I will need the top of the butt, please. I'm like, oh, come on.
Pretty sure I said glute. Okay.
I think you said butt. I think I've warped. I think in the short month or so we've been doing the show, I think I've actually warped your mind.
It's that
I am an infection to be avoided at all costs, and there is no cure for me.
So my prevention has to be high before I come in here.
Your prevention would be to swing by a dispensary anyway here and forget this ever happened. That's just interacting with Jamie. I'm just saying. Okay, so as we go, get ready. We got just a couple of minutes left here, Dr. Nicola.
Yes.
We're getting ready to 2018 starts on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
That's New Year's Day. Any last recommendations for? I mean, we've talked about making resolutions and stick to them. I think it's real important to kind of reinforce that.
Absolutely. I mean, the number one thing is be realistic. Make resolutions, set intentions. I was reading something last night that said there's nothing as important as writing down an intention because it's really hard to be present to anything else when you're writing. And so if you can focus all of your energy and presence into really writing them down. And even if it's something like, I'm going to drop from 2 Diet Cokes a day to no more than 1 or to 3 a week. You know, if you write it down and then if you actually speak it to somebody else if you want to, but even just that act of writing it down can really help us to get focused. And then we can ask ourselves, like, why do I want this? Why is this important to me? Because that's what's going to be the kicker. You know, if going down to 3 Diet Cokes a week is important because Dr. Nicholas said so, quote unquote, then it's not going to last very long, right? And it doesn't really have any meaning for you. But if you are like, you know, I'm getting older and my bone health is really important to me and I don't want to have osteoporosis or brittle bones when I get older, then maybe that's a big motivator for you. Or I want to be more hydrated, or I want to be less reliant on huge corporations, or I don't want, you know, bizarre sweetener chemicals in my body, whatever that is. Or I want to take better care of me. And this is one way I can do that.
I'm going to make a resolution to you right now. I'm going to write this down.
All right.
I will eat kale at least once in 2018. There you go. And I wrote it down. I am going to eat kale at least once. I'm going to let you buy me anything you want with kale in it.
You're going to let me buy you.
I'm going to let you buy it. And I'll do that once. That's my resolution to you.
But I think, honestly, that's a great resolution because it's really achievable and it's measurable. Like, you can check the box when you've done it, and then you can be like, oh, you know what? The kale wasn't so bad. Maybe I will have...
the next day.
Yeah, exactly.
Dr. Nicholas, folks want to get in touch with you at Pure Vita Healthcare. How do they do it?
Yeah, give us a call, 970-426-1684, or check us out, drnicola.com.
Sounds good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
See you next year on The Rock Doctor.
On the other side.
Yeah.
Okay.